All right, I'll go ahead and kick things off. So today, for the agenda, we have introductions. Obviously, the leadership team. We just like to reintroduce ourselves. We know we get new members quite often, so just let them know who we are if you guys aren't familiar with us. Then we do a segment in every one of our TUG meetings called the Vet to Viz story. And here we would like to open it up to the audience and open it up to you all to kind of tell us your story. How did you get started in data? This could be, even if it's your transitioned out of the military into data, or maybe it's, you went from a different industry into the data industry. We would love to hear your story and how you got there or where you're at today. Then we're going to open it up to the biggest event, which is Tor from Norway. He's our guest speaker today. Really excited to hear what he had to say or the tips that he has to present. So looking forward to this event. Then we have some announcements to make, and then we'll close it up and open it up to networking as well. So with that said, I'll just go ahead and briefly introduce myself. My name is Ethan Lang. I'm the Associate Director at Playfair Data. So we're a consulting company and work with companies all over the world and all different fashions of industry. So if you guys ever have any questions about consulting and what that looks like, definitely feel free to reach out. Happy to help out anything I can, or any questions I can help answer, happy to do so. Then we have Tim. Tim, I'll open it up to yourself. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Tim Blaisdell. I currently work for the FAA in the Office of Commercial Space Transportation. I'm doing strategic planning and metrics, 4 years active Air Force, 6 years Guard, doing aviation resource management, which is tracking currencies of pilots, mainly dealt with fighter pilots and things like that. I worked for the VA for 7 years doing connecting service-connected injuries to service. And I think that's about it. And Chris Arago is actually online. So I'm one of the founders, and Chris is another founder. And actually, he agreed to be a lead now too, after a while of taking some time off. So Chris, did you want to introduce yourself? I'm putting you on the spot, so you'd have
to. Yeah, I'm Chris Arago. I started at the VA with Tim. You started at what is like 4 months before me, Tim? Something like
that.
Yeah. Okay. I started at VA Boston 2008. I was in the Marines 2001, 2005. My getting into data story is I was a manager, and I was trying to streamline things. Saw a lot of the same claims and disability compensation for VA, and was just trying to get to a yes very quickly because we have, they process, I think 1 year was like 1.4 million claims with about like 10,000 people. Just trying to get that done quickly and get veterans the benefits they're entitled. So a lot of my jumping into data was trying to see if I could streamline things, and did some things with the VA. And now I work at the Environmental Protection Agency Office of Inspector General and their Data Analytics Directorate. And I have a lot of experience with cleaning data and prepping it for presentation.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Tim and Chris. And Chris, I'll get your image added up here. And obviously, we're always looking for new leads. So if anyone in the audience is ever interested in that, we'd love to have that conversation, let you know what that looks like. But I'll go ahead and briefly introduce Abe and Lou as well. Abe's probably our youngest lead. He's transitioning out of the military. I think he's been in the private industry now for about a year. He's moving here to Kansas City, so he's looking for a new opportunity. So we'll be having Abe. He'll be the Florida Marine that lives in Kansas City. If you follow him on Twitter, he's the Florida Marine Abe. Then Lou's worked in banking in the financial industry for a long time. He's also an aviation Marine, and I want to say he's been out for quite a while. So if you have any questions about that particular industry, Lou would be another good person to reach out to. All right. So we'd love to open it up to you guys now that we've kind of introduced ourselves. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to take the mic and tell us their story, feel free. No takers, quiet this morning.
I can go if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to. Go for it.
I know a couple of names on here, guys. My name is Kate Perez. This is my first time coming. And I just kind of wanted to learn a little bit more about the veterans organization focused on Tableau. I am a veteran spouse. My husband and I and a third party or another friend of ours started at Maravis. So we've been a nonprofit partner of Salesforce for many, many years, training veterans and military spouses for Salesforce career. And I'm always looking at other platforms and what we can do to continue to funnel the veterans and military spouses that we serve into the tech ecosystem. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about you guys and see if there's partner opportunities or just kind of get to know you guys. So
awesome. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you.
little love in the chat. Thanks, Terry.
I appreciate you joining. Yeah, we'd love to have that conversation. So hopefully we make a good impression on your first time here.
Yeah, and I have to drop
if
it.
you
I
want
have
to connect afterwards, we'd
yeah,
love to.
I'm not gonna be able to stay through the whole call, but yeah, I can sync up with you guys on Twitter or LinkedIn or something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you connected with Jade?
Oh yes, she's on our the Maravis advisory board.
Okay, yeah. She told us about Maravis, so I'm glad we're connecting now.
Cool. Anyone else want to take the reins? Don't be shy. All right, I'll take it. I'll go ahead and do my story for anyone that hasn't heard it. I was a military police, so when I got out of the military, or excuse me, when I got out of high school, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to be a police officer. At least that's so what I thought. So I went to the Air Force recruiter, and they told me you kind of pick 5 jobs, and we put you where we want you. And I didn't want that risk. I knew what I wanted to be, so I stepped next door to the Army recruiter, and they said, "Oh hell yeah, we got you." So they put me in, and I quickly realized that being a police officer is the last thing that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I started doing that. I did it for 3 years. Went to Fort Leavenworth. Immediately got to Fort Leavenworth, found out I was deploying to Iraq, did a deployment for a year, then stationed back at Fort Leavenworth, where I worked at the USDB, the military penitentiary here at Fort Leavenworth for a year. Then I got out, and again, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. So I decided to go to school and figure it out. So I signed up at KU, the University of Kansas, went there, started as a computer science major. And I took a stats class where I kind of fell in love with data and the power of data and statistics. So talked to my counselor and figured out there was this brand new program, he said, called business analytics. And I should take a look at it. It's all about predictive modeling and working with data. So I transitioned over to that major. And that's kind of where I fell in love with data. Then I got into the industry, kind of bounced around. So I've worked in marketing. I worked for a pretty big e-commerce company for a while. And now I do consulting. Which is, the pinnacle of my career, honestly. Love doing consulting. It's a lot of fun. But that's my story. We have time for maybe one more if there's any takers. If not, we can move on. All right, going once, twice. All right, we'll move on. I appreciate it, Kate, for taking the risk there. All right, now for the main event. So we have Tor from Norway. Tor has the title Tableau Jedi, which I found extremely interesting. I want that title for myself. He's also a Tableau ambassador and leads the Tableau user group in Norway. He works for a consulting company called Inmeta. And Tor's been using Tableau for quite a long time. When I came into the industry, I believe we were on version 9. He's been working with it since version 7. He's a consultant, advisor, and trainer, and he's one of Europe's most merited Tableau trainers with over 2,100 participants across 15 countries. And he holds a score of about 9 out of 10 when they do ratings on the stuff that he has to share. He also dropped in a fun fact for us. So he has over 50 Tableau related t-shirts, sweaters, and caps, which that's mind blowing. I think I have maybe 5 Tableau t-shirts that I've gathered up from conferences over the years, but that's quite the wardrobe. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Tor to kick things off. Let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you. I went to met you guys in Vegas at the conference, so obviously the collection now has grown quite a bit as well.
Yeah, you have to add a.
Wife is quite happy with all my.
You have to add a fanny pack to that list.
Yes.
Yeah,
we were given a fanny pack. Awesome.
I'll start sharing my screen then. Please let me know when you can see it.
Yep, we can see it. Thanks.
Perfect. I'm going to be using Tableau for this presentation, so it will be available on Tableau Public either today or tomorrow as well. It's already 6 p.m. here in Norway, so it's the afternoon. Just had dinner with the kids and then ready for some Tableau tips and tricks. Since you asked about how to get into the data business, and also since this is a veterancy group in Norway, back in the days, everyone was called in to service or do the session thing when you were around 18. I'm not sure if it was just after the IQ test or the eye test, which at least I failed miserably the last one. So after 3.5 hours at that session, I get a stamp in my little red book saying that I'm incapacitated. So I've never been to the army or served for my country, but I've been working with computers or data for many years. So I feel quite humbled to be part of this and present here today. A bit, I mentioned, or you mentioned that I've been doing a lot of training. This number also now have increased a bit, now over 2,200 people. Realized quite soon when I started working with Tableau that even though it's a self-service tool, quite easy to just install and right-click and drag and drop, there's all kinds of mistakes you can do, but also all kinds of nice ways and quick ways of doing things that are not kind of out of the box. So I started doing training and came home from Brussels in Belgium March 2020, and have been working from home then for a couple of years. Finally now started to be back on the road traveling again, which I really love. So I can get more Tableau swag, obviously. From the home or home life, I have a couple of kids, as you can see on the top left corner. This is before we went out jogging last summer because we had to, or the kids had to, and I had to drag them along. So this is the before picture when they were still smiling. On the right-hand side, that's my daughter and her team, combining 2 of my hobbies, flying a drone to take pictures and video. And that's the J means girls, and 07, that's when they were born. So that's the handball team that she's playing on, and I'm a coach on. My son plays soccer, and we also share the love of soccer. I know that you Americans are not that interested into the soccer where you are 11 people on each side and there's a ball and you don't use your hands other than to throw. Our family team is Liverpool from England. Everybody in Norway loves a team from England. And you see, this is an old picture of my swag collection. I need to update this now, probably twice as big. And also have a cat named Sissel. For this presentation today, I have plenty of tips that I can share. I can go on for hours, but let's try to keep it within in time here. I have some people here this is from the Las Vegas conference in 2019. I'm back there somewhere in between all the other bald guys. Very close to the Fleridge twins. Some of these tips are stuff that I've realized and discovered over all the years I've been using Tableau. And then some of these are from other people and get inspiration from other people in the community. If the question is if this conference was in Europe or US, this is from the Las Vegas conference, isn't it? From 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So let's get on with some tips. I said I will share this workbook after. The workbook will be the before thing. I'll also have this link to a Google Drive where you can download the PDF where all the instructions for all the different tips and tricks are. So you will be able to replicate or do this again if you would like to. Obviously, this is recorded as well, so you could look at it from there as well. So let's start with the first one. I'm just gonna see what happens in here. I'm starting with the first tips, and that's the changing the size of a text table. If you have a text table like this, you can't see the consumer, corporate, or anything. You have to get the kind of sweet spot and try to find where can I adjust the size of these, which is not very easy, or at least not for me, even though I'm using a mouse. So a quick tip is to hold in the control key. All my tips is based on Windows computer, so it might be command key or something different on a Mac, but hold in the control and use the arrows. And then you can increase or decrease the size of any table as you like. If you're adding some new data, depending on, you can see I have all kinds of different data over here. If you're not, if you don't know enough about the data, what does the sales contain, or what does this profit contain? You can always right click, and right click is something I always mention many.
Anyone else experiencing that? Sounds like I'm looking at the chat. Okay, several folks are. Hey,
Yeah.
Tor, if you can hear us, it looks like you've cut off. We'll give you just a few minutes to reconnect with us here. All right, he's gonna boot out and try to come back in. That's what he said. So we'll give him just a few minutes. Sorry about that, guys.
In the meantime, I was wondering, Ethan or Tim, y'all were online for the Tableau conference, right? Was there another event going on at the same time for the Alteryx or something?
Yeah, so the Alteryx conference was happening in Denver, and then Tim and I actually attended the Tableau conference in person. So we went to Vegas. Yeah, it's a good time. But yeah, the Alteryx, I think they call it like the Inspire conference. It took place the same week in Denver.
Looks like Tor's back on.
Yes, hello.
Perfect. Oh, thanks. Yep.
So it was only me and not all of you guys that. Yeah. Where did you lose me?
Right clicking on the calcs there.
Yeah, the describe bit.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll do that again. If you would like to describe or find any information about any dimension or measure, you can just right click on the describe icon, and then you can see information about this, what kind of role type, if it contains null and so on. But also you can see the domain, what kind of members you have inside of any field, especially if you're connecting to a new data source. That's quite helpful. Show me on the right hand side, you can build plenty of visualizations directly from Show Me, but as was written also in the invitation or in the agenda, I'll show you several visualizations that you can build that's not part of Show Me. And one of the easiest one is if I take state or any dimension, put it on text, and just get rid of country for now, since everything is in the US anyway. And then if I put now anything on size, you would think that you will get something other than this. This is a nice little tree map, but the importance here is to change the automatic, even though it says automatic text, change it to text and then drag sales into size, and you'll get a word cloud in there. Not part of Show Me, very easy to build. Not necessarily the visual best practice of comparing values to each other, because California has way more letters than Ohio, and then you could misunderstand or misread the view in here. Another little trick in here is to, if you would like to highlight those values that are bigger or smaller than the other ones, you can just double click on this sum of sales. Now we can do an ad hoc calculation inside of the sum of sales, because this is a function. We can add in the square of 2, click enter, and then we are making these the states that have the biggest sales stand out way more, and now the smaller one are not that important. When you have a filter like this, not sure if everybody knows, but you can obviously select a different type of regions in there, and including all. But if you for some reason don't want anybody to filter on all, you want to get rid of this all one, as long as there's a triangle in Tableau, that means there's a menu. So if I click on this and go to customize, I can get rid of the all value. That means that you can only select one or several of these different regions. I can even change this from a multiple list to a single value list, and then I can only look at one region at a time, never look at the all. Quick tip there as well, on the title, if you edit the title, you can add in showing data for, and then you can insert that region filter so that the end user will see that they have selected south, west, east, especially if you like to export this to, you know, PowerPoint or something, a scary other tool that you would like to present your data. There's a lot of functions in Tableau that you probably have seen, but there's also a function called random that is not documented in Tableau anywhere, but it's basically just write random and then parentheses in here. And this one is generating a random number between 0 and 1. So if I now change my filter, you will see that this random number is changing every time. Great for doing anonymous data, or if you would like to do some jittering. If you heard about jittering before, I have here a box and whisker plot where I have some insurance data with the total of 5,503 marks, or customers in this case. We don't necessarily see how many are there in this. This is in Norwegian, by the way, but the different type of insurance policies. So how can I split these circles so they're not on top of each other? Well, I'll just double click up here. So that's a tip as well. If you'd like to do an ad hoc calculation, you can just double click on columns or rows, or even on the marks card, and then you get a white pill, and then you can put in random in here, random. You see that it's not coming up here as the as part of the IntelliSense. It's in here because I've saved it from before, but random brackets, click enter. And then you see that all these different dots that before was just on a line on top of each other are now spread out, and see that on this Casco insurance, there's way more customers than we have on the others. We also can right click and remove this random axis in here. Not very nice to look at. If you're only looking at the ones that are outliers, you can always right click, edit your reference line, and get rid of the underlying marks that are except for the outliers. So you can only see the outliers if those are more important than the ones that are within the average. You can look at some conditional formatting. We see here the classical category, subcategory from Superstore. We have some that are orange. You also see on the tooltip that the supply sales is below the category average. This is the average of 79,000. This value is below. This one is above. And you also see on the tooltip that it says above, and it's blue. So how do we do this? Well, we do a couple of steps. That's always the workaround hacking that you need to do in Tableau sometimes, that you would really think that why can't Tableau just do this? But let's look at this average category sales calculation first. just get it into the correct window. There's also a tip: if you hold in the control key and the mouse wheel or control plus, you can zoom into your calculations. Especially good if you're getting old like me and don't see that well, or if you want to share something with anyone else. So what's happening in here, we are doing for each and every category that we can see in the back, find the average for all our subcategories, basically recreate this average that we have in here. And then we can add in a calculation to just color these ones, the orange blue ones, to do the above or below average, where we say if the sum of sales is larger or equal to the category average, then it's above or below. And then we can drag this on color when we have either orange or blue. But the trick for the tooltip in here, we need to color this blue or orange as well. So we create one above calculation. We say that if above below average is above, then above. And then we do the same for the one that is called below. Just the other way around, obviously. There's also an extra tip for you. If I now have forgotten how the above below average calculation is, normally you have then to right click on this and do edit, and then you close that previous calculation, and then you have to go back and forth. So if I go back to my below, you see that I have the above below average. When I click on this, if you have the window on the right hand side open, like you always should do, because then you will see this is the calculation from the one that you're referencing. And obviously you should always add in a comment that explains what your calculation is. So now I need to add the above and below to my detail. So I can get them on my tooltip in here. I have above and below. Subcategory sales, this one is either this one above is true or the below is true. Just one of them could be true at the same time. Above should be the blue one. I can then go to more colors and I can pick the screen color. This one is quite nice. It looks a bit different on the Mac, but I hover over this blue above and then I use this color. And I do the same for below, pick the screen color. Now the orange, say okay. And maybe make them a bit more bold or bigger. That's up to you how we will format this. Now you see this one is above and blue. This one is below and orange. Then we really don't need to have this one on the right-hand side either. New tip, if you are having a measure or several measures like this, and you would like to color the different measures from the lowest to the highest value, we can take the measure values, hold in the control key to take a copy, put it on color. Now we see that it goes from minus 18,000 to 330,000. But for profit, that's minus 20 to 40. This one, the sales is from 0 to 300,000. So now the darkest colors are all on sales, and the ones in the middle are just gray. If we click on this measure value field, we can use separate legends, one for each and every measure. So now this profit legend goes from minus 18 to 56, and we see the variance in between the different ones. If you don't like to have orange, blue on all of these, you can always click on any of these color legends and change maybe to green, gold for that matter in there, and then for something else on the last one. If you would like to have no color legend on the sales, there's also a tip, because you can't do one step, you can do 2 steps, but still it will change from the highest to the lowest. So as long as we have a divergent color like this, or we have sequential one, if we select any divergent color, instead of doing the red blue, just click on that specific color, maybe select this blue, say okay, click the other one, select blue, and then it goes from blue, or maybe this is purple or something. I'm a bit colorblind. That's one of the reasons I never went to the military. They said I could never work on a submarine or anything like that. So if I now say apply, this one has the same color throughout. Yeah, this was actually the one that I already did, so we can move on to the next one. I tend to use quite a lot of shortcuts on my desktop or my keyboard as well. If you have a dashboard or a sheet that you have a lot of stuff in, Control E gives you a sheet description that you can use for documentation, for example. This one doesn't have anything very interesting in it, but it says what kind of marks you have, what kind of stuff you have on shelves, on dimensions, and the data source. If you would like to move back and forth from your different sheets, Control Tab or Control Alt Tab to go back. Sorry, Control Shift Tab to go back. I also like when I'm creating a new sheet, I'm not sure if you know this, but if you go all the way over here and click a new worksheet, you see this all the way to the right, there's a new worksheet, new dashboard. Click on a new worksheet and it starts all the way in the end. But I would like to have my sheet between this one and this one. You could either then right click, create a new worksheet, or do the Control M, and then it will pop up here instead of going all the way in the back, and you have to drag it in the front to where you are working on. We like to put a lot of data into our dashboards, but maybe we would like to put some stuff in tooltip. I'm going to come back to that later. But look at this very small, almost mobile friendly bar chart. If I click on phones, I get a trend line over time for just phones. If I click on envelopes, I do the same thing. But also you see that envelopes doesn't fill up the entire screen up here. So it sticks with the fixed axis. So how do we do this? Well, we need to do some calculations and we need to hack a bit as well. So in here, also a quick tip, if you do Control F, you go automatically to the search field over here. So you don't have to navigate the mouse over. Control F, and then I have created something called fixed max sales. I'll show you this one, zoom in. So this is finding the max value for the for all of my subcategories. So I'm just going to find what is the sum of sales for each subcategory and find the max. In this case would be 330,007. So this one, as long as we put this on the detail, the axis will not diminish or go to expand or move at all. And the other tip is to, when we go back to this one, is to add both of these two sheets into the same container. If you don't put it in the same container, it doesn't work. And then we are creating dashboard actions. And on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you hate that Tableau changed this from going to be automatically selected this sheet to this entire workbook? Now I have all the different actions in here. Really frustrating that they modify this, but that's how it goes. So in this sheet, I have two different actions. One that basically goes from this bar in the dashboard to its own sheet. So it's limiting and showing only that specific phones or chairs or whatever you're selecting. And then from bar to the spark line that we don't see at the moment, we are selecting something and then we're filtering the spark line and excluding everything when we haven't selected anything, so that this one is closing. So this is how you do this little trick in here as well. If you would like to do some quick KPI formatting, you would like to have these nice little arrows going up or down, depending on if the data has changed from the previous period or whatever you have. We can solve this by doing some calculations, or we could do it pretty simple. We have created this tip 13 delta sales, which basically is doing 2018 minus 2016, sorry, 17 sales. So we'll see if it goes up or down. And then we right click, we do format, and then in the numbers, if I now click custom, number custom, maybe I'm just going to have one decimal. And then when I click on custom, I can modify this custom format. I do have to cheat a bit because I don't have the what is it called? The Wingdings shortcut in here. But if I put in up on the positive ones, you see that when it goes up, you have this nice little line going up, and then you can copy in the other one, obviously, when it's going down, when it's negative, and then it looks like this. It's nice little KPI formatting. This is a trick I realized when I was doing training, and I wasn't doing it in Norway, and the dashboard data was for Summer Olympics. Coming from Norway, at least if you go several years back in time, you had to scroll down to 254th place to find any Norwegian. Now, obviously, we have been a bit better. So now we are winning a couple of medals here and there. But if I go to this webpage, the FIS Nordic World Ski Championships, which is way closer to the Norwegians' heart, I do a copy of this entire table, Control C, go back to Tableau, Control V, just have the Tableau window open, and you will see that I have a new clipboard source with today's date. I have all the dimensions and measures. I can clear this up, put in nation, put in total number of medals, and sort it, and look at this. Norway is on top. I think the US is there somewhere as well, all the way down here. You're not that as good as us on winter skiing. So let's not talk about ice hockey. Let's move on. If you would like to have a quick way of opening files, either a data source file or a Tableau workbook, if you have Tableau open or you have the Tableau icon on your desktop, you can just drag and drop like an Excel sheet like this, or any other type of data source. And then we're getting data from server, which is an Excel file, and I am connected to the Excel file. You can do the same thing if you would like to open up a Tableau workbook. Just going to go back there and say cancel, because this Excel file is not that big, but you never know. And then right click and drag. You probably have done stuff like this before. You're dragging in something with a date, and you're drilling all the way down here, or maybe you're just going to keep this month, or maybe change this one to something else. So a quick tip there, instead of left dragging, if you right click and drag and let go of any date, you get an overview of all the different date types that you have on the right click on the columns and rows. If I now would like to have the green month, I can select this one. If I would like to do that on any measure, right drag, you can then straight away select, I'm going to look at the average and say okay. And you can even do that on a on a dimension if you'd like to do a count or count distinct. Save you some time. I love to save time when I'm doing Tableau stuff. If you're building something like this, you have some, well, maybe not models. Let's do the car brands instead. There's a few of these. And then you have only one measure. Ever done this before? And there's no header? Quite frustrating. And then people ask, why is there no header? Well, if you add something more, then you get the header for both of them. But that's not your use case. You only would like to have the header for your insurance fee that you have in there. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. You could double click and create an ad hoc calculations calling this insurance fee. Click enter, and you have it twice, which is a bit annoying. So we just have to right click and get rid of the field labels for columns, and you have insurance fee. But then if you drag in something else, it looks really strange. The other way around, that might be a bit more safer, is to use measure names and measure values. So if I replace my insurance fee with measure values, it looks a bit crazy now before I'm done. I add measure names on top. I now have everything in here, but I also have measure names on filter. So I now just need to select none and just keep the insurance. And then we have insurance on top in here as well. A bit similar to when you're building something and you might just want to have the car brand and you have this annoying ABC popping up in here. Why do we have ABC in here? It's just a placeholder. We could do a couple of things. We can go to marks card automatic, change to polygon, and then apparently there should be a polygon, but there's nothing. So you can make this a bit smaller and you're good. Or if I undo, you can drag a copy of car brand to text, and then you can hide the header for the ones that are on row, and you have everything and there's no ABC. this is something, those two tips is something I would have loved to know the first like 3-4 years when I was using Tableau. So that's a kind of a beginner tips as well. This one might be, we might get rid of this one depending on what we saw on devs on stage, when now suddenly we can drag in pictures as long as we have a URL in the view. But back in the days, at least, and still until at least next version is released, if I would like to add in some shapes, some pictures of the Friends cast into this view, you see that we have the different the length of the dialogues every character has had in the Friends series. So how can we do this? We can start by doing an ad hoc calculation again. Love to do that. Just create an average of -10,000. That sounds quite logical, doesn't it? I'll show you what I'm going to be using it for. Just going to drag it before the other one. So I have an average of -10,000 over here. Doesn't do anything at the moment. But now I have two different use cases or places in here that I can modify on the marks card. So I don't need to have the name on color. I don't need to have the name on detail. I'll put that on, well, nothing yet. I'm going to change from bar to a shape, which is over there. And I'm going to put the name on shape. For now, there's just a lot of X's. So I need to go into my shape, and then I need to find because I am so lucky that I have some friends, people locally on my computer. If you don't have these, you can just put it into your My Documents, My Tableau repository and shapes, and you can add in whatever shapes that you like, and you can assign the palette like this. I can then say, okay, maybe make them a bit bigger so we can actually see them like this. And then to make it even nicer, let's do a dual axis, right click on this blue pill, and we are synchronizing our axis and get rid of this ugly axis down here. And now we have a nice little picture of each and every character that fits the data as well. As I said, this might be getting a bit better when the newest release of Tableau is coming. But looking back at TC21, they promised a lot of good stuff. Some of it has been released. Some of it is still under development. So you can't trust those guys at Tableau always. Thermometer chart. It's getting warm in here. I mean, it's 1/3 of the temperature as it was in Las Vegas, but for us in Norway, when it's getting close to 15, 20 degrees, it's basically summer, so we're happy. So how do we create a thermometer chart? I'll do the tip I showed you before, Control M to create a new sheet like this. Sorry. And then I'm going to put the subcategory. I'm going to find those one in here. Subcategory, you can use this copy into rows. Sorry, on columns, because we're going to do it the other way around. Put the sales in there on rows. Obviously, if I would change the way of change the axis, we have this shortcut up here, swap rows and columns. So we can quite easily switch this by using this menu chart. But for now, put this one in there. I'm going to do once again a ad hoc calculation, which will be -0. So basically it's for now nothing. I'm going to modify and adjust this one. So this is just a dummy. I'm going to do a dual axis again, and we're going to do some synchronizing. Really strange sometimes. You build a bar and then something else, and then when you synchronize, Tableau suddenly thinks that you only would like to have these dots or circles. But I'll go back to the sum of sales and change this to a bar again. And then we would like to have the same color on both. So I'm just going to get rid of the color. So now we have blue. Maybe since the thermometer, it could be red. Would be nice to have that on both, obviously. So I'm just going to do it over here like this. And now we just have to adjust the size a bit. So the size for the bar, make it smaller than the circle, maybe even make the circle a bit bigger. Fairly easy way of making a thermometer chart like this. If we would like to make a sound wave chart, obviously it has to be something that fits the theme. So once again, back to friends, how many words over each season, episode, and scene did each character say? So now we need to try to make this as a sound wave. So we're going to duplicate the number of words like this. I'm going to take an ad hoc calculation on this, just multiply with -1. And then we see that we have a sound wave chart. Really easy, but also a hack, as everything else. If you're working together with someone else, or if you have different type of workbooks, and I would like to come back to this one later on, I can go up to my window. Obviously, you also see that I have plenty of sheets in here. I'm hopefully going to stop on the bullseye chart today. Looking at time, Ethan, you have to tell me when we're getting close. But if I would like to bookmark this, I can go into bookmark and create a new bookmark. I already have this one from before, so let me call it version 2, just to make sure that it works. And then whenever I open up a workbook, I can, open up a Tableau desktop, I can go to my bookmark and find these from different type of workbooks. So they're basically linked and you can have them in there. This is also a nice way when you go from this window mode to navigate through all the different sheets. By default, you have these small ones that you navigate through. If you have seen down on the right-hand side, this took me some years to realize, but you have the navigation buttons, but you also have these 3 different icons. So obviously they have to do something. So by default, it's this show tabs. You can show a film strip, which has the name of all your sheets and also a preview, or you can do this big one, the sheet sorter. You have an overview of all your sheets in here and you can navigate back and forth as well. I tend to go for the default one though, but it's fairly easy to add them in there. Then I'm going to talk a bit about a couple of table calculations, index, rank, and so on. So once again, looking at friends, they are looking good. I would like to add index on rows. So that's basically just a function that looks like this. Click enter. Change it to be a discrete, because otherwise now it will try to do a scatter plot because I have some 2 measures in here. And you see that this index is just showing us the position of where we are. So I have 60 rows of data. That's also something you can see down. If I manage to do my zoom properly, that didn't work too well. Let's do it again. I have 60 marks in my view, and we can see it in here as well. This is also, before I continue with the index, if I select a few of these, and you have the tooltip, you hover over, see that I've selected 4 items, and it's summarizing 36,344 words, which are those four different ones that I have selected. You also see it down here on the status bar. I have selected 4 out of 60 marks. The sum of words is 36,000, even though the total one is 525. This is a nice way also of checking your data. You can always right click over here in the gray area and add a summary. Then you even get the count of words, the sum, the average, all the different aggregations, and some more information in here if you like. If I now select a few of these, it also says that 4 are selected, which is 6.7%. But back to the index. I would like to use this to create a rank for each character within each season, because now it seems that Ross was first. It looks like that's correct as well, but Ross was also first in season 2, but it looks like he is 7 because of the index. So if you right click and edit our table calculation, just going to get that window in there. I'm going to do for the specific dimensions, I'm going to restart every season. And if we look in the background, we see that these ones are matching up as well. So we are ranking which one are speaking the most each and every year. So even though this is now an ad hoc calculation, if I would like to save this and reuse my ad hoc calculation, I can just drag it down to my measures. Or maybe I've already created one before, so let me just get rid of this one. I'm a bit crazy now, see what happens. I think I'll do it again, since I already had created it, so it fooled me. So whenever you have created a calculation like this, you can drag it over here, and you can give it a proper name, ranking friends, for example. You should never rank your friends, obviously. Everybody is equal and we love everybody as much. But we can then reuse this calculation later on. Just going to change this so it's okay again. Specific dimension, name and season, have season on top. And then restart every season. So this is working. Perfect. If I now go to the next chart, creating a bump chart, looking at once again my different friends characters, and reuse this index that I've saved over here, because I could obviously write it in again, but if I would like to reuse my ranking my friends, make sure that once again it's doing the correct thing, specific dimension, name, every season, like this. It looks a bit flat at the moment, so let's see if we have forgot something. I have added this one, restart every one, because Chandler now is number 1 all over the place. I'm just gonna, let's try this again, see if it, obviously something has to fail when you do a demo as well. So why didn't it do it now? Or why did it didn't do it like now? No, it doesn't seem that it's going too well, because it looks like Chandler is number 1 every year. That can't be true, even though he was talking quite a lot. I'll get back to this one then. So let's jump over. This is actually a couple of tips that I picked up from the conference. I'm not sure if any of you were there, but I know that, well, I know that you, Ethan and Tim, were there, but anybody else were there or looked at this? I'm not sure if this one was part of the live virtual one, but you can actually do more stuff now in web edit than you can do on desktop, which is a bit frustrating, because it has been, or both frustrating and impressive. But one time in the future, you should be able to do 100% on web that you can do on desktop. It's been most on desktop and less on web, but now suddenly we can do more there. So one of them are spelling. So I have created this dashboard, as you can see. If I do edit text in here, there's nothing I can do to fix this different with 2 T's or others with set. So if you download grammarly.com or add an extension to your web interface, like I've done in here, I'll go to edit on the web, and I'll click on this one, edit my text. And you see that I have a language tool that are now doing a spell check for me. I can click on this and say, please fix different, please fix other, like this. So that's something that I have been missing, and has been a top idea on the Tableau ideas page forever. So still not part of Tableau per se, but as long as you use a third-party tool, it works. Another thing that we've been able to do for a while is to write in any like URLs like this. So when I click on this, it goes to Grammarly like this. But what if I would like to do it like this? I would like to put in Grammarly, and I would like this one to be a URL. The old hack was to basically drag in an empty or a transparent picture on top of this, and then create a URL action. When you click on that picture, when you think that you were clicking on Grammarly, where you also then put an underline and made it blue, so it looks like it's a URL. What you can do now is on the web, that you still can't do on the what is it called, the desktop, is if I just click on this one now. So I have the URL, I'm just going to copy it from here, and then when I select this and do Control V, it automatically should be creating a URL on this one like magic. You can't just write it in here, but you can right click and do Control V, and you can see you can edit this, say that it says Grammarly, but it has this link in there. So you can do that also now on the web. Another thing you can't do on desktop that you can do on web, if I now have a bad eyesight and I would like to see if there's anything I would like to, obviously can zoom into a map, but how can I zoom into my entire dashboard? Can't hold in Control and use my arrow wheels or Control+. On on web, since this is a web interface, I can zoom in to see all and every detail if you want to make it pixel perfect. And a quick tip there as well, if you hold the G button, you get a grid in the background, only used or it's something that you only see when you're on the dashboard. You don't see that when you're publishing it. If you really would like to make everything pixel perfect. And one thing that I've seen for a while, but that I've seen now that they've done even more. I love to use containers on my dashboards. You can rename the dashboards. That's the containers, but you can't drag and drop or move stuff around in here. You're trying to, but nothing is happening. On the web, if I go to layout, if I would like to move the map, I can move it wherever I like. I can move containers wherever I like. And this is something that I've really been missing on the desktop interface. See that obviously now we can make a lot more, a lot worse than it was before, but you can now move stuff around to get it as you would like to. So that was a couple of things you can do on web that you can't do on desktop. I don't have the chat open, so I have no idea if there are people are asking any questions or not in here, but let's hope that you are, we'll do this, we'll go through this afterwards, I guess, we'll do a Q&A, that's okay. So a simple trick again, if I manage to go to the next one, if you have your discrete headers down here, that's the default, you always get it down there. You can't just like do the swap columns and rows because you would like to have them on top. If you go to the analysis menu, you go down to table layout, there's something called advanced. That also took me a couple of years before I realized there was something called advanced in here. And in this one, you could do or remove this show innermost level at bottom of view when there is a vertical axis. Obviously, that's very explanatory. Everybody understands what's going to happen now, especially since the trick is to move the discrete headers upwards. If you turn this one off and say apply, this one is on top. As easy as that. That's also a tip that I like to tell, especially when I do training. Whenever you open up a box or an option window like this, there's an OK, cancel, and apply button. Never just do a change and click OK, because then the box is shut. You have to right click, do everything again, come back to this and modify. Do the apply button, because then you can see what happens in the background. If it's OK, you click OK. If it's not OK, you change and you try again. Also now you can do 50 rows on tables, 50 columns of tables. I don't know why anybody would like to do that. Some versions ago it was only 16, but it's probably some US thing, or I don't know, some crazy people who would really love to have, or accountants that would like to regenerate a Excel sheet and have 50 columns of data in there. If you would like to add an information button, where you have like there's an eye and it says hover over, and you get some tip about how to use your dashboard, because you should always have instructions on how to use your dashboard. Let's go into marks. We can once again create an ad hoc calculation with a small I. Nothing special is happening at the moment. We'll drag this one to label. Now you see an I. That's pretty nice. Change this to a circle, and then I need to modify my eye now so it actually can be shown. Change the alignment to be in the middle. I find that the what's it called, the Georgia font is pretty nice. It looks very much like a proper I information button like this. Do it cursive or italic, and then you go to the tooltip and add some information. This is good. Norway rules, like this. And then when I hover over, you have this information button that you can add on as a floating object on any dashboard as well, without having to add any shapes or anything like that. Now you're going to get 7 tips in one. 7 ways of creating a calculated field. I know that there's more or less always two ways of doing anything in Tableau. If you would like to create a calculation, the one I tend to use most is click on this circle, create calculated field. You can, if you go through these, you can right click on the white space in here, create calculated field. If you want to build a calculation based on the number of records, just click on it and say create calculated field, because then number of records are already in the calculation. You can go to analysis, create calculated field. That's something I've never used, but I use the one below, edit calculated fields. Not because I need to go in here to edit any one, but if you open up a workbook that someone else has created or you download it from Tableau Public, I tend to go in here and see, okay, how many calculated fields are there really in this workbook or in this specific data source, especially if you need to make it better or fix the performance. You have the Alt-AC, that's the shortcut over there. And then we still have two more. Ad hoc calculations. You've seen that many times now, so don't have to show that again. And then finally, you can go directly from columns or rows and create new calculation from there. So that at least the 7 ways that you're never going to be using all of those 7 ever again, but now you know them. Get rid of ABC. We've already done that before. A couple of things on the dashboard in here. I'm just going to find my notes as well, so I don't forget about it. You can always go to the layout to find all your different containers. Obviously, it shouldn't be called horizontal many times. You should have a proper name on them. So you can go in here and select this container. But a quick tip is as well, if I would like to find the container for this big ass number, I select this sheet and I double click on it, and then I select the closest container. If I double click again, I get the container for the entire bit. If I would like to change my tooltip, I'm not sure if most of you just go to sheet and then you fix the tooltip in there. As long as you have selected a sheet in here, you can go to worksheet menu and click on tooltip, and you have the tooltip for the map, and you can adjust and change in here as well. So you don't have to go back and forth for the different sheets. Save you some time as well. If I now hover over and click on Iowa, you see that there's an underline underneath Iowa and US. You see that one? It means that if I click on Iowa, it doesn't happen too much have fun stuff because it's only selecting Iowa. But if I click on the United States, or if you have different type of dimensions, you can use these as a selection tool as well. If you don't want this to be possible, you should take away the allow selection by category in here. If I take this one away, all the dimensions in here, there's no underline and there's no clicking. Also, I have a lot of customers that when I'm building some stuff for them, they tend to not be interested in keeping or excluding or creating anything or looking at data. So how do we get rid of this stuff on the top of the tooltip? Go back to my tooltip and we take away the command buttons in here. So when I click on this now, there's nothing on top. They can't filter or mess up your beautiful visualization. Anybody have some colleagues that are ending up in this beautiful visualization? Or visualization is okay, but you see the cards have gone all bananas. You have the marks card up here. You have columns and rows on the left-hand side, and you can, because everything in here can be moved wherever you would like to. But how can we go all the way back to start? Well, we just click in this gray area and we reset our cards, and we have the columns and rows where they should be, or at least where I like to have them. But I've seen people actually like to have the columns and rows down here, for example. I don't know why, but people are different. Another thing that's annoying me is that you have a nice little visualization like this. You have some blue orange. And whenever I select something in here, you see that July and 2019 are now in yellow. If I select entire 2018, all of these are in yellow. If I would like to turn off this highlighting, on the menu bar, you have this highlight pen where I can say disable workbook or sheet highlighting. If I do like this, there's no ugly yellow on the top that messes up your theme colors, for example. Or if you would like to enable it, but only have it on date and time or month and year, you could adjust this on your own. I like to basically have this off by default. Colors, we shouldn't be using too many colors, obviously. Now I have colors for each and every subcategory. If I would like to color by category and subcategory, if I now go in here and drag in category on color, subcategory is not on color anymore. And I can do drag in subcategory. Now it's only colors on subcategory. The trick here is to, if I leave category in there, to drag subcategory on detail, and then on the marks card on this icon, we can change this to be color. So now I have category blue, and I have 4 different colors for my different subcategories inside of that color. And the same for technology. Order matters. Order of operation is really important. So if you switch the order, we see that subcategory is first, and then it has the same color. Category doesn't affect anything in here. Getting close to the end, talked about Visin tooltip. So whenever you hover over in here, if I go to my tooltip, you know that you can insert different type of sheets in here. So different sheets of my information. So in this, we can make this entire view. I have all my categories in different colors. I also have a subcategory which have the same colors per category. So since I've been cheating, I've been putting this into my caption. Just going to copy my sheet name and everything in here. Default, when you're adding a sheet, it will be 300 times 300, but I'm going to make it a bit bigger. So in my tooltip, I'm going to add this one in here. And you see that I'm showing now the subcategories filtered for each and every category. I also have the top 10 states by sales and top 10 by profit. So I would like to add these also into my tooltip. So I go to my tooltip and I just copy this, or I can insert it obviously, but I'm just going to do this and change this to be number 3, and it's only going to be 300. And now the trick is to, because I want to have them side by side, I'm not going to do a line shift or anything, just going to paste in the same thing again, but now I'm going to use not number 3, but my sheet number 4, and it's going to be 300. Since the first one on the tooltip is 600, you see now that the ones below are 300. And they're split. Maybe I would like to have a nice little line between the subcategory view and the top 10. Then I've created a nice little just line in here, a sheet with a line, quite boring in itself. But when we go to our tooltip and put this in between these two, and that's the sheet number 5, like this, and it's going to be not 600 wide, but only 9 pixels high. Now I have a nice little line between those 2 different sheets as well. So now I have some charts, and then I'm done. Any preferences of any charts? I have no idea what time it is, so.
Yeah, we're pushing up on about 5 minutes left, toward just FYI. And anyone in the audience, if there's a particular chart that you see listed down here, definitely jump in and let us know so we can prioritize.
Yeah, I can put up the chat in here. So there was an area chart, so we can look at this one. I'll find the area chart first then. We can do the area chart in here. And if you have any others that you would like that you see it all the way down here, I'll put those in as well. Everyone will be available on the when I publish this afterwards, so it will be available. This was the area chart with a line. So I'm looking at continuous month in here. So I'm just going to find my date, order date, right click, obviously, because we learned that trick, and it's going to be a continuous month. So we save some time in there. I'm going to put my sales on rows. I'm going to change this to an area chart. So it's fairly easy, as you can see, to add the area chart in itself. If I would add in some some region on color like this, then we still have an area chart. But the trick in here is also adding a line that highlights the top level in there. So if I duplicate this one, sum of sales, go down to the 1 second here, this should only then be a line and maybe be a bit dark like this. We can synchronize or create a dual axis and synchronize our axis like this. And once again, if we would like to, we can have in the region still on color on the area chart, but we see that the dark line on the top, that's the total line for the entire view. Yeah, there was no specific one, so I'll show you a couple of more and a map, and then I think we're good. So a diverging bar chart. I have world population data from 1950 to 2015 in here. So I have year on rows. I have 2 calculations, one for female and one for male. So basically, if gender is female, then population, and the same one for male. So I'll add male on columns, and I'll add female on columns, and do the same. I'm not going to put it next to it, but I'm going to put it on the same axis like this. Looks a bit spooky at the moment. So I'm going to move the measure names to color. So we're going to distinguish between male and female like this. Still not quite diverging because I would like it to end in the middle. So I'm going to edit my female calculation and just multiply this with -1 like this. We see now that we have a 0 starting point, and we have the number of female versus male over time. This is all countries in here. If we then add a filter for countries, maybe a single value list, and we can see that in Afghanistan versus Angola versus, well, we can see how is Norway versus the US, for example. We have a lot of old folks in this country. In the US of A, or it's probably not written like that, Americas, or how, that's really difficult to your name, United. You are united, aren't you? States of America, looks like this. Yeah, so I'm going to end with the bullseye chart. That's obvious, since we have veterans in there. I'll do one with a map then, and then I'll do the bullseye. So I have some data of rat sightings, not from Norway, even though Rattus norvegius, that's the Latin name of the brown rat. So I'm not sure why we got the name there, but we have some rat sightings in New York, actually. So if I click on the latitude and longitude, I get nothing at the moment. Let me just see what happens. I think I need to make sure that I'm on not this one, not the generator one, sorry, latitude, longitude. I have 1 dot over here, and then I can add in whatever dimension or level I would like to. But the quickest way to see all the data points in your view is to go to analysis and turn off aggregate measures. So instead of 1 mark, I now have 113,000 mark of rat sightings in New York City. Congratulations, I have to say. If we zoom in a bit, there's obviously no rats in Central Park. I'm not sure why. Somebody has to figure that one out. But as you can see in here, there's very many marks in here. They're overlapping. So something that came a few years ago, you can go from automatic from those circles to density. Then you get this one, and then you will get a bit more easy overview of the data where stuff is happening. If we go to colors, maybe we should have a more dark red, higher intensity, a bit more opacity like this. If I now zoom into, if I put in the boroughs like this as a filter, make this a single value again. I like to have single values. And only look at Bronx or Brooklyn. You see that it's modifying or recalculating the density based on whatever you zoom in. Majority of rat sightings are seen on Wall Street. Yeah, that could be true. So finally, the bullseye chart going out with a bang here then. I have some car insurance data that I used a bit before. I'm going to put my insurance data, where's the insurance policy on color. I'm going to change to circles. I'm going to put my car brand on detail. It looks really nice, don't you think? And then I'm going to put in the number of records on size. We're getting somewhere. Now it's just a packed bubble. But if I now put all my customers, the 5,000 something customers on detail, you have a bullseye. Where we have the different type in Norwegian though, different type of insurance policy. We have most of the red ones, but the values will, or depending on how it's sorted, now it's sorted alphabetically. So you can obviously sort this, this insurance policy by, instead of the data source order, we can sort it by the number of records like this. So we see it looks even more like a bullseye. So that was, I'm not sure if anybody counted all the tips in here, but it should be 50 plus something. Hopefully something was new and something you haven't seen before. Some of them you might never use. Some of them you might use already today. I hope so, at least. There's tons of these that I'm using quite a lot. That saves me a lot of time, and also not just building even though Tableau almost always says they use this one horizontal bar as recommended. It's always nice to spice it up a bit, make it a bit more sexy and interesting sometimes to have some of these other visualizations as well. So thank you for listening. And then I guess if I scroll down here or up again, is there any questions?
I don't think we had any questions in the chat, but if anyone has any questions, definitely unmute yourself and speak up. All right.
I think it's actually too good, Mr. Levinsen. It was too good. It was overwhelmingly good.
Yeah, I know that I'm saying a lot and showing a lot of tips, but it's being recorded and you will be able to download the workbook and also the instructions so you can redo this again.
Yeah, fantastic presentation. I would like to consider myself a veteran within Tableau, but I picked up on several things as you were going through. So just amazing content. Thank you so much for presenting. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fun. I love to share.
All right. Any last questions? All right. I'll take the screen back. Thanks, Tor. I really appreciate it again. That was awesome.
No worries. No worries.
All right.
Even somebody is writing Takk in Norwegian in here. Somebody's either using the Google Translate or have some Norwegian relatives. I don't know.
This is a translator.
Awesome. Well, like always, we like to show our appreciation for all of our speakers that come and speak to our group with this challenge coin. Challenge coin has, a rich military background, but we would like to present Tor, one of our challenge coins, and we were lucky enough to meet up in Vegas and do just that in person. So here we are hanging out in Vegas, and going back to Tim's comment originally about the fanny packs, there they are. They're going down in history for sure. But yeah, we were able to meet up with Tor in Vegas during the Tableau conference and present him that coin in person. So that was a really fun event, and glad we got to meet you in person. Tableau conference gave us the ability to do that, so it was great. All right, we do have a couple big announcements as well. As you guys know, part of our group, we like to kind of give back to veterans and kind of do things using data and Tableau to give back to the veteran community. So through that, we've teamed up with an organization called Hunter 7 Foundation. And if you guys aren't familiar, they do a lot of cancer research when it comes to military veterans and active duty military personnel. basically, as a veteran, you know, a lot of military personnel are exposed to risks that actually improve their odds of getting cancer. Things from toxic burn pits or being exposed to burn pits downrange and on deployments. Even some of the armor used on our military vehicles is made with depleted uranium. So if it gets cracked and you're pulling security around that vehicle, you're exposed to some radiation from that. So they do a lot of research when it comes to those specific things. So we teamed up with them. They gave us some publicly available data from a survey they did. And we were able to stand up this product. Let me show it to you in Tableau Public. So this is what we were able to stand up for them. But basically, we took the survey data that they provided and we broke it down and kind of came up with this story. And really, it's kind of eye-opening. What we found is that through just the lack of education in the private healthcare industry, there's a lot of misdiagnosis or improper preventative care when it comes to veteran-related issues. So like I just said, we're kind of, our odds of catching something like cancer is obviously improved with just those risks that we experience through our service. And nurses that aren't educated on those risks will sometimes misdiagnose or provide improper preventative care treatment when it comes to those veteran-related risks that we would get. So through their survey, what we found is, you know, the familiarity with veteran-related issues, they ranked themselves very, very low, these nurses that took the survey, but also very high when it came to their comfort level in providing care. So you can kind of see that with this diverging bar chart here. Then we kind of broke out the survey itself into different sections. So there was a demographic section, and each of these circles represents an answer within the survey. The larger the circle, the more respondents answered that specific question or that specific response. We also have a bar chart that kind of visualizes the same data. You can hover over and see what the question and answer was. And then there's these different sections. So demographics up here, familiarity testing, knowledge testing, and then the final question was, you know, how competent and comfortable are you in providing care through those assessments, treatments to 9/11 veterans or post 9/11 veterans. So this is what we were able to stand up. Probably in June, we're going to open this up and get it out there for the public to download. And what we typically do is kind of pass this off to our members to take that data set, that same data set, and try to either reconstruct what I've done here or some elements of it, or build off on their own and build something completely different. Maybe even trying to find your own story within the data. We've really just scratched the surface on what was provided to us. So for instance, like the knowledge testing, where they're asking these questions to see if they really do know those veteran specific issues. It was really interesting. You know, there's a lot of stigma out there when it comes to like PTSD and stuff. One of those questions, I believe, was, are more veterans diagnosed with cancer than PTSD? Most of the nurses that surveyed or took the survey said that there were more PTSD diagnosis when in reality, there are more cancer diagnosis for veterans than PTSD. So it's really interesting to kind of dig in and find some of those tidbits and stories throughout here. But our upcoming challenge, typically, like I said, what we do is open up the data, open up this workbook. You guys can either recreate this or build something of your own. And then what we do is we take some of the submissions or you know, work that the community has done, and we'll give out challenge coins to some of the top related kind of stories or dashboards that you guys create. So more to come on that. Like I said, I think we're prepping to kick it off in June, but we really want to take this a little bit larger than just our own membership in the Veterans Tug, but the Tableau community as a whole. So we're going to try to work with Tableau to kind of get this project kind of kicked off and out there towards the whole community. So just timing on that. It may not be June, maybe July, but we're going to try to make it June and as soon as possible to get this into your guys' hands. Obviously, I have made this public on Tableau Public. So you guys are the first few folks that are seeing this live. I think I even went on there and it said that there was only 7 views, and that's probably from myself. So yeah, if you guys want to take a look at this, I'll post this link in the chat, or Tim, if you could do that for me real quick. And then if you guys want to take a look and download it and dissect it, definitely feel free. All right, but that's all we had for today. Do want to say thanks for joining. I know your time is very valuable. So we really appreciate it. You know, Tor, I know he really appreciates it when you guys come out and be able to attend these events in person, and open up for questions and things like that. So we do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll open it up for networking at this time.
Hey, Ethan, you now have 13 views.
Oh, fantastic.
And
probably likely for myself.
No. And Doc, he shared the link.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and to your comment, Doc, Viz for Social Good, it's kind of like, if anybody knows what Viz for Social Good is, it's they visualize issues from all across the globe: hunger, access to water, things like that. And this is kind of that, but for veterans. So it's a very similar concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very cool. And right now we've got a bunch of projects that are on hold. So we're like, hey, we need some projects. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you guys were interested in running it through that group, we could do it sometime this summer for sure, if you wanted to.
I would love to partner with them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we were kind of using them as like kind of a model of how to reach out to organizations and things like that. And we actually got together with Neil and Chloe a few months ago, just to kind of pick their brain.
Yeah, we've been piloting stuff like this for a while now. We've done a couple different organizations and challenges. One was Project Echelon, which was really fun. And then we teamed up with Alan Hillary from Data Lit. We were able to team up with him for the Tuskegee Airmen Challenge. So that was really cool to run through this group. But yeah, we definitely we try to do one a quarter where we're, again, it's a very similar model to what you guys do at Viz for Social Good, but just kind of reaching out to kind of either organizations that advocate for veteran related issues, or veteran owned and run organizations, and try to help them kind of discover through their data and visualize their data. So
yeah,
really excited about this one. This one was
that's really cool. And like I say, if maybe once a year we could partner together and see what the difference is out of one of those 4, that might be something we might try.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, maybe we can take it offline too. Talk through what that would look like and how you guys could either help out or us team up and collaborate together on a project. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, love to do that.
Okay, cool. Well, it's 1:30, so I think we're at time.
Yep, looks like it. Anybody, any final words or questions? Anybody in the audience? All right, well, I'll close it off. Again, thank you, Tor, so much. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, great.
Coming out
fun.
and presenting. Man, this was awesome. Yeah, I picked up on so much. I was trying to jot down as much as I could as you went. That was awesome. Yeah, appreciate it. Cool.
Yeah,
well, thanks everybody.
I'll share the workbook link with you guys, and then you can share it internally in the group afterwards.
Absolutely.
Perfect,
Yeah, we'll be emailing out the video and the workbook, and we'll email out towards LinkedIn and everything else in that email if you guys want to connect with him. Definitely get that going. All right. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.
See you next time. Thanks again.
See ya.